Welcome to Quantum Revenue Expansion, where we share time-tested strategies to turn your annual revenue into your monthly revenue. Ready to up-level your business and your life? Then you will love listening in on the lively conversations Ursula has with her clients and guests as they share exactly what they did to grow and scale their business exponentially. Plus, you will discover how to experience more freedom, joy, and peace in your business and your life right now. If turning your annual income into your monthly income is your next step, then join us at the next 2X Intensive. Go to ursulainc.co/apply.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Quantum Revenue Expansion, where we talk about turning your annual revenue into your monthly revenue. Super excited today because we have an amazing guest who we're very aligned with. We have the amazing Liz Bloch here today. Liz, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ursula, it's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I had the honor of being part of your summit, which was very exciting. So thanks again for having me. It was just a fun way to bless all the coaches out in the world. So That was great. So excited to have you here for this conversation as well. And before I introduce Liz, just a couple of housekeeping things. If you haven't yet, go to our homepage, ursulainc.co, grab our free masterclass, Quantum Revenue Expansion, which pairs really nicely with this podcast. And in that free class, we're going to do three things. One, talk about expanding your revenue container, how to 2X or 10X your monthly income. We'll talk about then how to align your pricing packages and your marketing with your expanded revenue. And then on the third day, the third part of the class, actually, you could watch them all in one day. The third part, we talk about how to collapse time and get there even faster with team systems and a little bit of quantum physics thrown in. So if that sounds juicy, definitely grab that. And for those of you who've been hanging out with us a while, here's what I'm going to say. If you haven't been to the 2X Intensive yet, here's your invitation. And the easiest way to do that is to go to ursulainc.co/apply. Send us a little bit of your information, what's going on in your company, how you're looking to grow. And then someone on my team will set up a time to chat with you. And, we can really evaluate if the 2X Intensive is a great next step, or if there's other resources we can refer you to. All right. Having said all of that, let me tell you about Liz Bloch. She is, as a coach, we know she's a coach, she helps coaches. Liz draws on her extensive experience to support and guide coaches in building profitable and successful businesses. We often miss that profit piece, don't we, Liz? She teaches not only the essential business aspects, such as creating actionable plans and executing the right strategies, but also incorporates the woo factor, which is why we are so excited to have her here with us into her coaching to ensure a well-rounded approach to business, because we all need more woo, and we need to really lean into that direction as well as into strategy. So Liz, so excited to have you. So let's just start by having you tell us your story. What brought you into this world of business, especially the coaching world?
So from a business perspective, like most of us, we're all raised to grow up, get a job. Most of us get married and have kids. I skipped that bit. I just have fur babies. And so I knew at about the age of 6 that I was going to be some type of professional and I would never have children. And I thought I would get married to a prince. So it was this beautiful blend of make-believe and Disney classics with the practicalities of wanting to be independent and always be in charge of my own money, because we didn't have any growing up. And clearly as a 6-year-old, I was aware of that, because that's one of my strongest, most defining memories. And sure enough, I grew up. I didn't become a vet, which is what I thought I would become. And quite frankly, praise the Lord every single day for that, because owning fur babies, there's no way I would have been a vet. It just isn't a profession I would have excelled in. And I actually went into IT because I'm old enough to have been at the leading edge of IT when IT became IT, and worked my way up and became a program manager, because something that I find incredibly easy is that I can take the most complicated, complex concepts and ideas, break them down into small actionable steps, i.e. plan them, build a team, get the team motivated and excited to create and be part of the journey of delivering something that's new into the world, and do it without breaking a sweat. So that is my superpower, and that's what I find incredibly simple to do. What brought me into the coaching world, and again, I was sort of on the leading edge of that, because I started with Coach University way back in 2002. That was my first certification. I had no intentions of running my own business because I've never been somebody that sat there and said, I want to be an entrepreneur, because I was the one corporate ladder, right? That I knew I was in the career. So that has been my biggest struggle, because I went on and got another 3 coaching certifications. But as a program manager, my job was to empower, motivate, and inspire my team, to get them to pull together in sometimes the hardest of circumstances, and usually to timelines that were impossibly difficult to achieve, with budgets that had to be managed. So I always used coaching. It was always something that fascinated me. And I think, like a lot of us, Tony Robbins and Dr. Phil were the most common people, I think, way back when, that was, I used to think, oh, that sounds so cool, I want to do that. Because on top of my whole history and my business history, I spent my life being very suicidal every single day. Didn't matter how long or how well I was perceived to be doing in the outside world. On my inside world, it was always turmoil. And it was through using some coaching skills that I finally learned to love life. And that is why I now do what I do, despite not really ever wanting to run my own business, which is incredibly difficult, let me tell you. So that's sort of how I ended up in business and how I became a coach. And now, of course, I think I've got the best job on the planet. I think all of us coaches believe that to be true. Yeah.
So let me unpack this a little bit. And first of all, so much love to you when you were sharing, that a lot of your life was spent feeling suicidal. I come from a family without a lot of money, but a family with a history of suicide in our family, a history, both parents hospitalized for depression. And if you look at the statistics, like for myself and my siblings, like we have a 75% chance of going down that path as well. And luckily through, all like my siblings of my 2 parents, I have a half sister who has a different mom, so different, but my brothers and we have really, I don't even know how to say it, like, we've really been intentional about taking care of our physical and mental health. Like you just have to, like, it's such a, and often not to say that's always enough either, because there've been times when it has it has chased me a little bit. And, but we do talk about mental health in the show a lot. And so I just want to give you a lot of love. And we talk about it because we have to talk about it, because especially coming out of the pandemic, which was, worldwide, it's affected us all in ways that I don't even know if we're quite sure about that. And it's put us all in these little Zoom boxes. And so we can feel lonelier than ever. So anyway, all that to say, from my team, our global community, so much love to you. Thanks for sharing that. And I think the more we talk about it, the safer it becomes. And, because I don't know about you, but I've been through years of therapy. I work with therapists, I work with coaches, like it's a whole team to keep this part of me on the up and up.
On the up and up. Yes, because that's the sad thing. I thought after I did an extensive amount of work, and I knew I had changed because I have magnolia trees on my property. I live on a horse farm. And as I was walking down to the horses, I could notice how beautiful the blossoms were. That was never part of my experience. So for me, that was a real tick in the box that things had moved and had changed. But it's something that I didn't think I would have to keep working on once I got to that level. But, voila, we are here. Life is good. Life will always be good. But no, you're right. It's constant. I didn't really benefit from talk therapies because I didn't like to regurgitate my past. It didn't work for me living back in the past, which is why I love coaching, because we're ever present about what are we doing now and in the future, because the past is, we cliche stuff, right? Past is the past. And I just find if I keep dredging up the past and reliving that, my brain doesn't know that is the past. It now thinks it's here today. And that's what the feeling is. And if I'm operating at that level as a business owner, as a coach, nothing good comes from that. And that's the driver.
Yeah. So interesting. So I'm actually, I'm trained as a marriage and family therapist. So I even went down that path for a little while, but I was studying solution focused therapy. And that's how I found coaching. And I was like, oh, like I want to pull people forward. And so, and I think for everyone, people are different, right? Sometimes talk about thing, and other times, like some of us, I mean, you're very intellectual, you're very logical, you follow IT, like things have patterns, things, right? And so you know what works well for you. And by the way, where in the world is your horse farm? Because I'm sure people, at least my American friends, are like, she sounds different where than us. So where's she from? Where are you from?
It does sound different. I actually live in Auckland, New Zealand, way down the bottom of the world. I think these days my accent is pretty, well, we call ourselves Kiwis. So I think I do have a very Kiwi accent, but I've lived and worked all over the world. And for the longest time, when I first got back to New Zealand after being away for a decade or so, I kept being asked by New Zealanders, where are you from? And I would say, New Zealand. And they go, no, where are you from originally? Napier, Hawke's Bay, New Zealand, but you've got an accent. So, because I sounded a bit Dutch.
So, and by the way, I'm fully aware that I have an American accent. So
yes.
We do have a lot of international listeners though. So I know they're always curious where we get to connect with people. And that, what's interesting, Liz, is that was another gift of the pandemic. I can't tell you how much our world expanded because of Zoom and how many people we're just connected to all over the world now with the podcast and with summits and our friends. So the world keeps getting smaller. All right. So let's talk more about you. This is all about you, and we got to help people, our friends who are listening. And so you launched your business. Funny that you're in IT. I'm married to an IT security guy and my husband, and I so appreciate how different his brain works than mine, right? We're so different. And a lot of people ask us like, why aren't you guys in business together? That can't happen. We're both really clear on that. He still runs the IT in my company behind the scenes, but yes, really appreciate how he thinks. And I'm sure it's very similar to you, just this very like, everything has a place. You're very logical. And so my guess is that when you work with clients, when it comes to looking into their business and helping them develop their packages, their programs, their pricing and scaling their business, that comes very easy to you. Is that accurate?
Really simple. It doesn't even faze me. And I guess because, it's very interesting because we're told as coaches, you can't coach what you don't know. And you must have experience. And that's probably the biggest misconception I think people can give newer coaches or coaches who are struggling. And it's simply because of this. I have 25 years more than probably in the corporate world. I have helped businesses earn billions of dollars, like billions.
Yes.
So don't tell me I can't help a coach create 6-7 figures in their business, because that's just not true. Maybe I haven't got to 7 in mine, but maybe I don't want to, because my goals are pretty unique to me, as each of our goals are to us. And so, because of that broad experience that I have, I can sit with a coach and I can pretty quickly, and this is where the woo comes in. And intuition wise, I can usually figure out exactly why they're stuck, where they want to get to is possible for them, and then create a plan to help them achieve it. Because here's the truth about business. It's boring. It's the most boring thing on the planet if you do it well. Why? Because we have to create repeatable systems. We have to be able to keep offering the same thing over and over and over, but improving it each time. And from a business perspective for a coach, it's simple. You need people in so you can sell them. And so you've got to have, I just look at it as 3 mechanisms. 1, to build your audience, which is what a podcast like this does. 1 is a sales mechanism, i.e. a way to take your offer, which is your product is not your offer, and make your offer irresistible so people just throw their money at you and buy it. And then for me, one of the biggest pieces, which not a lot of us talk about in my experience, is delivery. I.e., once the customer has become one, what is their journey in our organizations? How do we look after them? How do we ensure they are a repeat customer? Because that's the easiest money a coach will ever make. And a happy client creates clients. So that's sort of where I can come in. And then, like I just say, I can always figure out very, very quickly from a conversation how and where they need to go next.
Interesting. So, and do you only work with coaches? Is that not that it's an only, because I feel like that's a massive niche, but I just want to be clear on who your target.
Yeah, so I call myself the coach's coach. So in many ways, I am a life coach for coaches as well, because building your business, which is your personal brand, if you're doing a coaching business, you and I both are more than aware of that, often means building yourself first. I truly believe it's a reflection of you. So yeah, most times coaches have got some growing to do.
Yes. One of the things I often say is, whether it's a coaching business, starting your own business is the biggest personal development journey you will ever go on. It'll turn you upside down. And I don't care. I ran $20 million companies, totally different than running my own company, totally different.
Yes. Complete selling somebody else's product. So different to
Easy.
selling your own. Yeah. Yeah.
All day long I can sell, and so I remember going so upside down when I launched my own business and started offering my own products. And of course, I think as coaches, let me speak for myself and some coaches that I know, we all started at like $100 a session or $200 a session or whatever someone told us, gave us permission to charge. Right. Yeah. I remember another client came up like from the early 2000s, came to me recently, and he's like, do you remember when you were charging $500 a month? And I was like, unfortunately, I do remember that. And he said, you helped me grow a multi-7-figure business. And he said, he still had the revenue model that I helped him build all those years ago. And I just thought that was so funny. Like, just the disparity. To your other point though, especially for coaches or consultants, you don't need to have, like, often I find that profit and revenue get confused. And so like, nobody wants a 7-figure business that doesn't have a profit, right? Or doesn't have enough. And I've seen people grow without paying attention to that bottom line. And so I just want to make sure everyone heard the goal that you said of like, whether it's multi-6, whatever the business you choose, if you've built it in a way that's repeatable, and to your point, Liz, if you have the right systems and processes in place and a small team, you can have a very, very profitable coaching or consulting business.
Hugely profitable. Look, honestly, for me, I think as a coach, your margin should be 60%, which people, when I say that to people, they fall over. But come on, guys, what are we at the end of the day? We're coaches. And I think where a lot of coaches that I've seen go a little wrong is they build their teams too big because they don't know how to build a team, and that's where their revenue is going, and that's where their profit margin shrinks. So for sure, at some point, you're probably going to be spending more than you're making, because we must always invest back into ourselves and our businesses. But at our point, you really need to open the books and go, what am I doing here? If you are constantly, I would think if you're less than 20-30%, you really need to look into that. Because in our models, I don't think you should be there. I think 50% is
minimum.
Probably.
It's absolutely what I teach as well. And I came from an IT training and consulting background. And even then that I was taught 50%, which I appreciated because they ran very successful businesses. So I had the experience of that. I just want to reiterate what you said as well, because I want to make sure our listening audience heard you. We got to have 3 things. So we got to be building our audience, right? To grow a successful business. We have to have the strong sales mechanism. And you said something super powerful. Make your offer irresistible.
Yes.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Okay. Especially for our coaches out in the world, because here's the thing. When you're building the offer, it can seem like everybody's done this, or this has been done in some other way, right? And so you got to dig into what's good about different about what I'm doing. So how do you help your clients make their offers irresistible? What would you share about that?
I have a 7-step process. And it isn't mine, it's my coach's. So that's one thing for everybody to know, right? We all teach the same thing. It's just us that's the secret sauce. So don't don't hide your light. You are the secret sauce, not what you teach. You. So I teach the same thing that James Wedmore teaches. Shout out to James, brilliant coach, my coach. He gets all my money every month.
Not all of it.
So here's the thing that he teaches that I now teach. There are 7 steps you need for an irresistible offer. And the first 3 are all P's. And they are your process, your price, and your promise. Because we want to make sure we're selling the result. As everybody knows, as you all should know, you've got to sell what the solution is to the problem your client is experiencing. Those are the 3 things we talk about. Then we go into the model of, well, how do we now make that irresistible? And how do you make things irresistible? You add things in, you give them bonuses, or you bundle things up. You make it something that they go, oh, I'm sitting on the fence, I'm not sure about, but hang on, what did you just offer then? But you make sure your 3 Ps are known first. first so that people know what your pricing is, what your promise is, and what your process is. Then you bundle it, and then you have to add in the old risk reversal, because people are always going to be sitting there and they're always going to be thinking to themselves, what if it doesn't work for me? What if I can't get that? What do I need to do next? People never buy from me. All of the mind drama, which is why you need a coach, is what prevents you from coming up and buying yourself. So your clients experience that, right? Then we have to create scarcity and urgency, because us humans, we all know our brains, we are lazy and we're wired to be that way. So it's not you, don't take it personally. I call him the lizard brain. So I have him sitting on a rock in the cave, and my job is to make him move. Right. Because his job is to do nothing. So when it comes to a buying or buying something, I can't think of the right word, you essentially have to make that attractive. So you have to give them a reason to buy. Make it urgent, make it scarce. I've only got 5 spots, or it closes in 4 days, it closes in 3 days, it's closing in 2 days. You have the rundown. And then you want to create something which we call your story. Which is the why. You want to tell them why you created it, because people want to know. Yeah. And it answers all of their questions, because I often liken that to a toddler. A toddler's favorite word, not that I have one, nieces and nephews, they often go, why, but why, but why? So our brains want that answered, and that's what your story is for, so that you can explain to them why you created this offer, why you've created this price, why this risk reversal, why are you giving that bundle? Then they have a really strong reason and a compelling reason to buy, should you have positioned those things correctly. Here's the magic in building a business. You get to repeat that offer time and time again until it works. That's where I find most coaches give up. They think after one launch something didn't work, make it about themselves and go hide for a few months. Yeah. Instead of looking at the data, right, understanding, and it goes back down to, as you well know, it goes down to, well, who put their hand up to say they were interested to begin with? And then of that, there's always a percentage that turns up. So what is that? I often say 30%. And then of that, there's a percentage that will buy. And oftentimes those metrics, those numbers are really, really good. But your brain doesn't know that, because you're not really aware of the numbers of the industry yet. So if you've got 40 people registered and 10 people show up, that's awesome.
Right, right.
Do you have the buyer from that? Maybe not. Maybe not from an industry metrics perspective, because 1 to 2% people buy typically from who you get interested. So it's understanding things like that enable you to keep working on that offer and keep refining it, because if somebody's not buying it, they're not saying it's you, they're saying you didn't sell me enough. I'm not convinced enough. There's not enough value in your offer for me to purchase it. So you've got to get back to work. You've got to refine the promise. Maybe your process needs a tweak. Price, if you can't believe your price, if you can't say that price as though it was the cheapest thing on the planet, then I think you do have a pricing problem myself, particularly starting out. Because you're right, as beginner coaches, we often get told by our coaches, you should charge X. Mm-hmm. But if X is something you can't get your head around, how are you ever going to tell a client that's what you want them to pay you? So I always look at the pricing model and I listen to their voices, because this is where the woo comes in, right? Human beings only listen to 7% audible. 93% is non-verbal. Wow. So it's energetic energy that you are giving out to the world that you're not even aware of. So if your brain is racing, why would they pay this? Why would they pay this? It's going to pay me that much money. That's what they actually feel in here. Yes. Yeah. Little secret.
Okay. We got to talk about that. First of all, for everyone listening, this is going to be one of those shows you listen to again, because you're going to be like, oh my gosh, Liz just showed me so much gold, and you're going to get her free stuff at the end, which we'll talk about and how to find her. But before we do that, just so much gold in the process, price, and the promise, and really nailing that on the front end. Yeah. So at the same time, you said something that we're going to talk about, because this is the quantum revenue expansion show. We're going to go quantum, right? Yep. You said it's 93%, right? Did you say 93%?
93. Yep.
Okay. Now, that's shocking for a lot of people to hear, because we think it's just the physical. We live in this 3D world we fly around in. And then I hear so many people, and believe me, Liz, I've been there too, where you just feel like, I checked all the freaking boxes. I did all the things I was supposed to do. I followed so-and-so's plan, because we do that. We model other people's stuff to a T, and then it just didn't land. So tell me, I'm always curious about, like, everybody's got different energy work that they love or things that they've done, but what do you recommend? Like, how do you help people clear their energy or work on their quantum field so they can just be magnets for success? So even if they screw up the offer, like, you've seen this, right? Where you're like, you screwed up the offer, you've said it backwards, you forgot half of it, or you see someone else get on a stage and just like have it's terrible. Their deliveries, you're like, that person checked none of the boxes back in the day before COVID, right? Before pandemic. And there's a line of 100 people at their table. What the heck? Let's talk about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I make this. So although I'm very wooey, so I have played with a lot of stuff. Here's what I do. I believe in the power, and I guess everybody wants to call it the law of attraction. Okay. So let's go. That's what I would think, that if I was going to label something, that's what I would label it. But here's where I think most of us go wrong. We think the law of attraction is, this is what I want. And then you visualize that. You think about it a bit, and then you do nothing because it's just going to happen. Magic. It's going to be here. No. So what I do is I bring the process in. What do you want to create? Start with the end in mind. Make sure you can feel it, touch it, see it, hear it, and taste it. So already become that version of you. And then you use that as your baseline to go every single day. What would she be doing today? Would she be watching Netflix, or would she be working on her offer? Would she be watching
both? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but she can do both, right? Because she probably does do both. Because I know my future version spends a bucket load of time on a horse. Yeah. She does that today too, right? So therefore, she's not living and breathing her business 24/7. So why should I be? And it's just a different model, because here's the thing. If you know that that is your future and you do not doubt that, and most of us have that inner knowing, we know we're here to do something more. And I tend to work with coaches who are actually put on the planet to help people transform. So it's never really about the money. The money is the byproduct, because money is value. Value is energy. So it's an exchange. I'm going to give you this. You're going to give me that, because I have to pay my light bills. So I get into that ebb and flow, and I think about money like a river. The more I put in, the faster, the stronger, the wider the current. So therefore, it's a good thing to put money into the world, to take money out of the world. So I always use that image as well, because it's a visualization and it's real. And then when I'm giving money away, I bless the money, because I know if I'm paying people, that's not paying a business, that's paying an individual who then has probably kids, who needs to put food on the table, who needs to educate them. So I think about the flow of the money to ease any scarcity away, because my future version, that thing I want to create, is abundant in all aspects. And then what I do is I work on something called my believability ladder for my business. So I have to believe my time frame, and I have to believe the goal. And because we're business owners, guess what? One of the goals will always be, it's always going to be revenue. Now, if you're somebody that's going to break that down and go, okay, I want 5 clients because 5 clients are going to give me $5,000, you can use 5 clients because your offer has a price. So how do we create the money? By selling it to them. So when I'm going into the 5D world, into the spiritual world, I've already got all of this stuff. So I truly believe it. Now I work on the time frame in the 3D, because maybe I got the time wrong. Maybe my brain was incorrect. Maybe the month I thought it would take is actually more like 3 months. But I learned that process because I still believe it's possible. And if my believability ladder, so if I say I want to earn $5,000 in 1 month, I check in on both. How believable is it that I can do it in a month? So is the time frame good? And I either go yes or no, 100%, 150%, 50%, and then I'll adjust. Can I do 5,000 in that same month? And the same questions, and I adjust. And so from my woo perspective, it's still very practical, because I have to take the woo into the 3D, because I have to materialize it by action. And I use I use all my coaches. I use Brooke Castillo's model to manage my mind, because that's what got me out of suicide. So I go into my thoughts, create my feelings, which create my actions and results. And that's where I say about the price, for example. If your brain is thinking, I can't charge that amount of money, or this is too cheap, I'm giving this away, that creates a certain feeling in your body. That feeling is the energetic currency. That is what people pick up on, not your words, which is why you can get on stage and say the worst possible things on the planet, but people feel you. They feel your energy. They feel your belief. They feel your conviction. They want what you've got. It's something that's intangible, right? It's in the quantum physics world. And, you know, I have a very strong memory of one of my boyfriend's mothers. And she must have, how old was I? 13 or 14? Like everybody come from a dysfunctional family, but he didn't. And she just radiated love. Like her whole face radiated love always. And that to me just showed a woman that was so at ease and happy with all that she had. And they didn't have a lot. They weren't, you know, I didn't come from a mega wealthy environment, but she was just, and that to me was always something that stuck. It's like, how is it possible that somebody can be that happy, that confident, that fulfilled on this planet? Because it radiated. Yeah. So that's sort of where I tie the woo back.
Yeah, I love it. And the idea of the radiant energy, that's that radiating, you know, and so that's, I really wanted our listeners to hear that, because it's not just your pricing offers. Like you can get all of that to a T, but if it's not believable, right? As Liz, you were saying, if you don't believe it, and if you're not radiating, and that's a great way to say it. Like if you're not radiating love to draw those beautiful clients in, they're going to feel that disconnect. So it can, like, business can be messy and you can still radiate it out. We're not saying don't get it right, but just radiate that love, because that's what's magnetic, that you're drawing those clients in. You truly want to help them. Yeah.
And this is why copycatting never works, because you can't take somebody's product or offer or business model and lift it and put it into your world and call it your own. You can absolutely do what I do, which is I pay money to learn from experts. I then learn it by using it. That's the key. It's got to be experienced. You've got to understand it at your level. And then I can reteach it, because I then put my flavor on and the way that I've navigated the world. And therefore I believe it because I've used it. And that's the other gap that I see. And you know what, we have to accept it doesn't matter what stage we're in. Usually somebody's behind us, and that's usually our target ICA. That's usually our client that we can help. And as we grow, we can help more pools of people. But yeah, it always comes from the most successful people that I ever work with are those that have that courage and conviction and consistency. So those 3 C's. Yeah. And then the believability in terms of they know what they can do. They know what they can achieve, and they lean into it.
Yes. Courage, conviction, consistency. And then that belief, they really lean in. Wow. Well, I feel like you're a soul sister. I love how the universe connected us. And now I feel like I know you so well in some other realm, which is awesome. And I hope we stay connected on many levels, Liz. And I know I want to get your free gift. So tell us about your website, how to find you, and what you have for our listeners.
Yeah. So the free gift is called Vision to Profits. And essentially it's a mini course. And look, full disclosure, and I'm a really good example to follow, because I am messy. I am not polished. I am not everything's tickety-boo, because I'm just out there doing the do. So here's it's a couple of years old, but it is so freaking good. I love it, because in my journey, I stopped working for myself and worked for a 7-figure coach. So when I did that, I put all my stuff on the shelf, as it were. So this has come back off the shelf, and literally it takes you from the vision, which is that end point. What is it? Who is it you want to be? Because you can't achieve anything until you've got that clear. Because, start with the mind. I often liken that you're going to Paris and you want to get to the Eiffel Tower. You've never been to Paris before. So are you just going to wander around this beautiful city, which, great, do that. But if you're on limited time, which most of us are, because we only get to spend our time once. We get to spend money lots of times, but time once, then you're going to want a GPS. You want to know where you're going, plot it in and get there. So that takes care of the vision, and then it takes you all of the way through the different parts. What's your niche? What's your IC? What's your offer? And how do you create a plan that works? So that's there, and you can grab that. Have you got the link? Because it's otherwise come to Liz, www, whatever you want to say, www.lizbloch.com, and then it's on the freebies page.
Okay, we'll definitely have that in the show notes,
yes,
so that everyone can find it. As we wrap up, Liz, and thank you for that free gift. I know many will want to download that. As we wrap up, we started, you were sharing a story, like just like a tough story, and just how you've made your way out of that, out of this very tough realm, suicidal realm, and you continue to manage that. So I know there's people who are listening out in the world who might be struggling a little bit just with their mental health or with their business. So I want to wrap up with your best advice for a CEO who's out there, who's listening, who might need a boost right now.
It's really, really, really important to understand that everything passes. But here's the most important thing. If you are somebody like I was, who didn't understand that my thoughts were under my control, because you think you're a feeling being and that your feelings take over your thoughts, I want you to spend the next 24 hours watching what your brain thinks. Become the watcher. And just let the thoughts float by like they're on another screen external to you, and start to tap in to what you think, because it's not you, it's your 7-year-old. And your 7-year-old still throws temper tantrums and still gets really hurt and upset really quickly, really easily. And so that is the beginnings to changing. And it's the same thing in your business, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. And the more you understand that you can change a thought and create them, the more control you get, not just in your business, but in your life, which is everything. And the way that I suggest you do that is watch your thoughts, like I just said, or do what we call a brain dump. Put your iPhone on for 5 minutes and then write down every single thought you can think of out of your brain without interrogating it. Just let the words flow. In 5 minutes, because the lizard wants you to write for a second. He doesn't want you to know what he's thinking back there in that cave that keeps him safe and comfortable and in the same place. And he'd rather you didn't know that. And that was what my lizard did. My lizard controlled my days. Once I started to realize what I thought as an adult with my prefrontal cortex, then I made changes. That's what changes everything. So that to me is my best advice to everybody. It's not business at all, but actually that's what changes you and your business.
Yeah. Pay attention to those thoughts.
Yeah.
Write them down. See what the lizard is saying and see what's going on and what you need to shift. I love it. Yeah. Liz Bloch, thank you for hanging out with us today. So fun to see you. And we wish you an incredible year of tons of horseback riding, as well as a phenomenal year in business. Thanks again for being here.
Thanks, Ursula. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
And to our listeners all over the world, thanks for hanging out with us. We love you. If there's anything we can do for you, you could email us at contact@ursulainc.co and just let us know. Or maybe there's a show topic you'd love for us to talk about. That's it for this week, everybody. Make this your most epic month yet.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you are ready to make your next quantum leap, let's do it. Ursula invites you to join us at the 2X Intensive. Go to salescoachnow.com/apply. Don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast app.